All right, folks. So I should be out hustling myself, like Dust James is doing. Much props to him. Just Dust James is my favorite communist. He actually cares about the workers. That's very cool. He actually has a poor background and has seen some certain things that some other communists have not, right? Or supposed communists have not. Anyways, even though I love the guy, we're gonna have this debate, or I mean, a discussion about Medicare for all, and he's for it, and I'm not for it, right? Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. So go ahead, Dust. I'll let you. Uh, much respect to you, by the way. I do plan on beating the shit out of you in this discussion, though. But
Like,
go ahead.
I mean, Medicare for all is a weak version of what should happen, which is socialized medicine. But most industrial countries um, and socialist countries all have a form of universal access to medication and healthcare,
And
and
what is
that's
your
just
what
that
is your
should be a demand
experience? What is your
that we have.
experience with the health industry?
Oh, horrible! Like I never pay medical bills. It always affects my credit. I pay too much for insurance. I never go to the doctor because I'm scared I'm gonna have to pay money
Have
or it's gonna
have you
hurt my credit
have you never gone
again.
to the doctor, or have you've been there a couple times? Right? Have you ever had any
Like
procedures?
only time I go to the doctors when I have a gout outbreak and I can't work.
Have you ever been to the emergency room?
Yeah, when I first I actually broke my arm in high school and in college, and
So
I ended up getting $4,000 in debt
were you taken there by
over
the
that.
were you taken there by the
Yeah,
ambulance?
taken there by the ambulance. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of the money too. Just so you know, in the future, right? If you have this problem again, oftentimes you can go to the finance department and say, "Look, I can't pay this," and they'll offer you a deal where you'll pay pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
just
I mean, it
so
fell. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't because it fell off my credit in like 3 years. Like it was, it hurt a little bit with my start, after graduating, but wasn't
sorry
too.
you went through
But
that.
with
Yeah.
Medicare for all,
Okay.
no one would go into debt over medical care, and no
Did you
one would be turned away,
have you
and
ever
no
been
one
to?
would be killed. I mean,
Okay.
it would save thousands of lives if we
Now,
had
okay.
at least had Medicare for all.
So before,
Like, I
right
don't understand why you're
before we
against
talk
it.
about that, I'll tell you a little about my experience. I work for a pulmonologist, and a pulmonologist, just so you know, is someone you've got to see before you go into under anesthesia, general anesthesia for any type of surgical care. So I got to see students from many backgrounds. I mean, patients from many backgrounds. I also work for a neurologist. I also have worked in multiple emergency rooms, right? Not just one, several, right? Thousands of hours for almost all of these employees, except for the neurologist. And I also have worked for a lawyer's office, going to with patients to something called independent medical examinations, where they're examined by doctors who are paid for by the insurance industry to try to minimize payouts. Okay, so I've also been in medical school, and I feel like I have very deep knowledge of the industry and how it works. And I think that I am particularly that's why I feel like I am very qualified to tell you why Medicare for All has huge problems. Not only this, but I'm also an activist. I was I was a very strong activist for Medicare for All March, which was actually a national, and I got to see on the front lines of the Medicare for All March, on Medicare for All, just activism, seeing what's going on in there. Have you done any? So I've asked you about your experience in the medical field. What about your experience as medical for all activism? Like, what do you know about the active? Have you done any particular work on this in this particular field?
I
Because I
think
can show you my work.
the extent of my work was under the Obama administration with the local coalition I built. We went out to some senators' office, mostly, the standard radicals and the union folks, and we asked them to support the public option,
Okay.
which isn't even Medicare for all, but it was better than not having it. And I think
Here,
that's the
okay.
major I think I
Here,
understand, like
here's
I
another
know the
question. Here's another
pitfalls of
question for you,
Medicare
right? Yeah.
for all.
Here's a quick question for you, right? Yeah. Just other question. Okay, so in the Medicare for All March movement, okay, how many people can you name any leaders or people that are kind of like, well, more known for pushing this type of idea?
Well, I there is a group of physicians that we mentioned earlier that does support Medicare for all. It's an
Okay,
organization.
so before we name the names, right, which we don't really, honestly, I'm not really so concerned about the names, right? But would you say that there's a heavily white bias as in terms of the representation around Medicare for all? Or, right, have you seen some black people? Maybe there are some, but right, honestly, what
Most
is
the
it?
activist movement, most of the like liberal activist movement is white dominated,
Wait,
but the policy would mostly benefit the poorest people who black and brown people are overrepresented in.
so it sounds like you're saying to me that there's less black participation, right? Yeah, not even the other minorities, right? I didn't get to them. I have my own critiques. But would you say that there's proportionally less black participation within the Medicare? And why do you think that is? Do you think that maybe they
These
themselves
people are
feel?
working all the time and have trouble, getting involved in activism. That's why it's dominated
I bet you also some of
by
them, and
people in the middle class.
I have also documentation on my channel of people like Coletta Sharp, right? Yeah, also agreeing with me that part of it also is the marginalization that the minorities feel when they're in these liberal movements that actually kind of
Yes.
keep us in our place. And actually, so it's not really solving, right? Yeah, the issues of discrimination. It's not really solving, right? These other the way the poor are pushed aside. And within the Medicare for All March movement, a lot we were talking what kind of provoked this conversation, right? I should be out hustling, but this was I felt such an important conversation to have, right? Who's dominating once again, right? Within the socialist movement, communist movement, all of right, the anti-war movement, it's one millionaire fighting against another millionaire. And the fact of the matter is that when you have physicians for Medicare for all, right? I'm not mad at the physicians participating. They could be a valuable ally. Thank you so much. But y'all do not get to replace us. You get what I mean? So if the
I
Medicare for all
gotcha.
march and what
I
I
think we're
also, yeah,
discussing two different issues. You have issues with the lack of working class and oppressed representation,
I'm
and
not
I'm
discussing
my
it's the
my
same thing. It's not
and
different. You
my
understand what I mean?
position is just Medicare for all, or even simply having a public option, would be
It's
better
not
than the
Medicare for
current.
all. It's
Would
Medicare for the
be
physicians.
no, yes. Would Medicare for all would simply be government finance of largely the inadequate discriminatory system that currently exists.
And until
Yes,
Medicare for
all
all,
true,
and
all true.
until and
But
until Medicare for
it
all,
would be a far better system than we currently have.
and
It
until
would be an improvement. It
and
would be an improvement.
until
No,
Medicare for
more
all
people getting
includes voices
access.
like mine and allows me the
Okay,
same rights in the movement that other people have, I will never support Medicare for all march until they give me, with my
but
qualifications,
you
with my
still support
understanding and my background.
you
No,
still think it would be a
absolutely
good
not.
thing overall.
Absolutely. Well,
You don't think Medicare for all would be an
I think
improvement over the current
honestly,
system?
um,
It wouldn't be
there's
an improvement over the current
here's a
system where
okay.
people are dying because they're turned away. Like people not dying
Are you
because
saying?
they actually get covered, regardless of how ineffective, regardless of how discriminatory, regardless of who's making money off of it. More people getting seen would be a good thing.
Actually, I was just
That'd be progress. That'd be
let's look
forward.
at this right here. I'm going to share my screen. I don't want you to take your eyes off the road, but there's actually this article. I'll tell you what it is. You don't have to look. Maybe
Okay.
you just stop. But you're on the highway. Am I correct?
I don't think we're having any disagreements here. I think I largely agree with you of what the
That's why you're my favorite
Medicare for all.
communist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
lot of people hate on communism. Once again, I'm sorry. There's a lot of you. I could find bad people in every group. Okay, y'all need to relax. Just because they're whatever name is triggering you. Yeah, like this. Dust James is the kind of communist that I like. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen right now. Now the thing is that right here, this is talking about this thing called this this is a known fact. Many doctors choose end of life care differently than the general population. Two studies show, and the fact of the matter is that doctors are less likely to get procedures, and they're also less likely to they understand in this article, right, which talks about I'll read some quotes. It says, in the first study, researchers found that the physicians were slightly less likely to die in a hospital, get surgery shortly before their death, or be admitted to the intensive care unit compared with the general population. Okay, they're not actually, 28% of physicians die in the hospital compared to 32% of the general population. Generally, if a doctor is dying, right, they're less likely to say, take me to the hospital. They were generally going to say, you know what, just leave me here. They understand that people always want to run to care. Really, the best thing you can do is to understand your own body, understand your own health, and not always trust some system out there, because you can never stop corruption. You can never stop what you see right now happening to me, right? My exclusion from this movement, my poverty caused directly by millionaires monopolizing the money, access, and resources to push themselves as a moneyed solution and to capture the resources for themselves. This will continue on under Medicare for All. I'm sorry to say. Tell me it's not going to continue on. How do you stop that,
That's
Chuck?
not an effective argument against Medicare for all. Medicare for
What?
all
What? How
is
is it?
not
It's the same shit.
going,
It's
no,
another
Medicare
name.
for all is not going to end racial discrimination, class discrimination.
It
It
doesn't matter
isn't,
what you.
all it's going to do is give funding and access to the
It
current
doesn't matter what you
system
call it. Whatever you're doing right
full
now,
of
you
its
can fix.
problems. What I'm
You
saying
can
is
you can start fixing the
Medicare
poor
for
people now.
all
You don't have to have a
is
name.
an improvement over people being turned away and dying. Medicare for all would be better than what we currently have. I'm not saying it's an end all fix solution. I think community controlled socialist medication,
I
completely controlled for and by the community,
I okay.
would be the best
I've worked
solution.
at hospitals, right? Yeah, and I know I've been in meetings with doctors, and they've even protested about this, right? They're not happy about it either, right? Yeah, but people like NYU, they have big donors like that guy from Lowe's or whatever, right? Yeah, that Kenneth or whatever his name is, right? Yeah, Kenneth Lay. Fuck all these assholes, right? Yeah, what? He's not Kenneth Lay. It's Kenneth Loeb or some shit like that, right? But his family gets super ultra like express treatment. Like his family gets like they see the best people in the thing, right? Yeah, and some of them are elderly, so they do need like more care and stuff. But they're really prioritized. Their care is different from your care. I'm gonna tell you right now. I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact. Okay, so and under Medicare for all, once again, these things will continue, right? I'm not. You can
Yes.
whatever is going on
How is
now.
that an
You can change
argument
what's going on
against
now.
Medicare for all?
You can
How is
change
that an
what's on
argument?
because you don't because honestly, right? In a way, it's a name that allows you to
Saying that you
prolong
want
to, to,
access
to hold
to
off
more
change now.
people.
It allows you to say, oh, this is something that this is why I don't have what I want right now. Whatever you want right now, we should push for that legislation right now. Whatever you want to call it right now is what's happening right now. People are suffering right now. You can make those people right. We can pay right. Yeah. Right now, hospitals are not supposed to eject people from the emergency rooms. We can pass any law you want. It doesn't matter. What matters is what people do in the actual instance. And people right now, even though the law says you can't turn people with an emergency away from the emergency room because
They
the
do.
hospital has to pay it, they do it. They do it. They do it. They make you wait 24, 48 hours. There's ways to do it. There's ways to do it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I've
the
seen
law,
you have more
yeah,
experience with it. I agree that the discrimination in the current medical system exists. All I'm saying
it's not
is
going to fix these
more,
things.
just be saying that I want more access and more funding to the current system does not mean I'm against further changes to get rid of that discrimination. Like Medicare for all would still be an advance forward, and we would still have to work on all those other issues. And we could do both simultaneously, but you don't have an
I,
argument
I'm not,
against Medicare for
and the,
all. Like it,
and
it
right,
would be a good thing.
what you're saying
Like
is makes a lot
where
of
are you
sense, but
saying it
here's
would be
where
a bad thing? Like it doesn't
here,
make any
here,
sense.
okay, this is where it comes loose, right? Yeah, because honestly, I understand where you're coming from. I feel like I really understand where you're coming from, and I really, in my heart, agree with it. But here's where I cannot agree with you. The activism movement itself is compromised, right? The activism
That
around
too.
that's pushing Medicare. If the Medicare for All March activism space wasn't so compromised in this way, right? But the people that are pushing for it are just so
Well,
enacting the elitism and the
here's
control that
here's
I
a major problem with the
oh,
Medicare for all
one no, one
movement.
last thing, one last thing, right? Yeah, it's
Uh
like
huh.
when you have like those chemical companies that are supporting the cancer research. You know what I mean? You just can't,
Hmm.
like, you know what I mean? Like, you might be like, oh, the work that they're doing in raising awareness, that's good, but they're not talking about what's causing the cancer. You have to say this shit is not everything it's fucking cracked up to be. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm. No, what I a major problem with the Medicare for all movement is corruption within the the union bureaucracy. So the union, one of the biggest selling points of getting a union in the current system is you're going to get health care, right? So a lot of the union leadership goes against their own ranks and opposes Medicare for all because they want that attractive thing to get people into the union movement. Like, why are people going to want to join the union and pay dues if one of the major reasons they're doing it is to get health care? So, a major problem with the Medicare for All movement is that union leadership and union bureaucracy isn't the main people supporting it, because they feel like that's a way to get people into the union movement. And that's another major problem, because if you had the union movement, which is supposed to represent the workers, the ones who actually need the medical care, I think that would be a better way of fighting for Medicare for all. But we have corrupt union leadership.
Sorry to hear that, bro. Well, are you gonna
Yeah.
do that? You want to do that labor panel soon, like in May?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, so just so you know, we're having a panel discussion for something called the Unified Platform 24. We're inviting candidates from around the country. I think that the interest may be dropping a little bit, but hopefully it picks back up. We will see with the labor discussion in May. But yeah, things have been exciting behind the scenes. But the Medicare. So just before, I don't want to get too off topic. I do want to stay on the topic here, though. So the Medicare for All March, or not the march itself, but I mean just the Medicare for All March, Medicare for All activism itself. I hope you understand where that makes me unable to support Medicare for All itself. The problems with the activism.
I mean, so what's your alternative? What's your solution? Like, are you saying, okay, that isn't the most effective vehicle for me to put my current activism in? Like,
Well,
first of
okay,
all, you haven't proven to me that Medicare for all would
okay. I think you're muted, but I don't really. Okay,
is. So
while you're muted,
what are you arguing?
what is okay? So what does Medicare for All mean to you? Because there's different definitions, right? Does it mean a state-based? Because some federal programs have the states roll out the care. You know what I mean? Like I think like food
Yeah,
stamps and
you
stuff
can
is
hear
rolled out
me?
by the state. You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Am I back?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, but the quality is low, and also you're breaking up.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can hear you, but you're breaking up and the quality is bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe you're passing between towers. Yeah, I guess maybe he's gonna jump back in. We're gonna see. So I gotta go and take care of some of this serious business popped up. It's really sad to see what happened. Once again, I do have quite a personal connection to this particular storyline. So just
All right.
having my own
So
medical background. Go ahead.
yeah, Medicare for all to me would be government funding, um, and expansion of access to the current system with all its problems. But that is better than the current system, which is complete chaos.
Okay. So government funding, is that the key?
Funding in general for healthcare would be positive, yes.
Okay. What about like the drug prices and the drug industry?
Well, if you had government funded rehabilitation centers, that would also be a good thing. But
So
they have government funded police and prisons is not working. If they had government funded rehabilitation, social workers, housing, healthcare, that would solve the drug problem.
okay. Now the thing is that the currently the healthcare industry, I would say, is quite corrupt. Like we know about the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
By the way, did you get the vaccine?
Yes. The first I got the first two, and then it kind of dropped off in
How do how,
interest.
how do you feel about people who don't want to get the vaccine or didn't get the vaccine?
I'm not for the mandates. I think it was an evasion of privacy, bodily autonomy. Um, yeah, I don't think they should be mandating workers. Honestly, I think Medicare for all would have saved a lot more people than the vaccine mandate would
But
have.
I think that the industry got a taste of a lot of money with the vaccines, right? They were actually allowed to be for profit, which is ridiculous, right? Yeah. Don't you think that should have been like not for like, you know, don't you think like if it was a matter of national health, right? And it was
Yeah.
at a point to make us all get it. Don't you think that the government should really just said, you know what, we're just going to use the national resources and provide this for at
So
cost. It doesn't
so
have to
you
be
don't
free.
like
It could be
government
at cost,
funding because you want the
but
government to
right,
completely
but
control.
you
Like you're
still
not making any sense.
it's being affected by the commercial powers. The commercial
So
powers
what are you
say they're
advocating? Are you
lobbyists.
advocating for full socialization?
The lobbyists are unfortunately controlling, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
So are you
what
advocating the free
healthcare
market
is, what
solution?
healthcare
Somewhere
is.
in between or completely socialized system? Like you're not making any sense. You're basically
You
saying,
need to
"Hey,
know.
there's problems with the system in
I think the
between."
best, honestly, just as someone who's like, you know, study health myself, I think the best thing that people can do is learn about health for themselves and be able to access all the medications
So we
they
need
want for themselves. Like, if
better
you want, why
education
do
and
you got to
better
get,
schools,
no, it's
which
a
would
racket.
also
Like,
be publicly funded.
you don't need a school. You could just go online and learn the information for yourself, right? But
Okay.
why are you,
More access to information.
why do you got to go to a doctor? This is actually, they're actually whittling away the power of doctors right now by giving it to nurse practitioners. They're trying to give it to other professions as well. But the true power, legal power of the doctor is the ability to write prescriptions, right? They're a doctor of medicine. They can give you the medication. They're not doctors of health, doctors of medication, medicine, right? Yeah. So the thing is that when you take a look at the way that the drug industry is impacting doctors and that whole entire field, okay, y'all really got to understand that health is really something that you'll have naturally, not necessarily with medicine. Medicine is for the sick. You get what I mean? So also they haven't protected us from obesity or like diabetes, things like that. They really should have gotten involved with right the diet and like, you know, controlling and tobacco. They haven't, because
I
they
got
are
you.
unfortunately there are two for sale. And once again, the physicians, I'm not saying they're all bad, but they're definitely not all good. You cannot trust,
Yeah,
and especially
we
yeah,
could
yeah.
address like
They,
rampant the monopolization of food, the commercialization of unhealthy food,
this is the
um,
first
the
generation to have a
allow
shorter lifespan.
monopoly.
The first
Yeah.
generation of lifespan to have, I mean, the history of this nation to have a shorter lifespan than the parents. This is how bad this
No, but
community is
I
feeling.
agree with you on all those issues, but I still don't see how that's an effective argument against something that would be better than we currently have.
You know,
Like just because you support
the thing is,
expanding the current
what
system
what we
and
need
getting more
now,
funding
and
for the current system
what we need now,
doesn't mean you're not against, you're not for all these other problems and addressing all these other problems that you're correctly bringing up. It's not one or the other, it's all of them.
we need accountability, we need transparency, and we need that now, and we'll need that under Medicare for all. But what we need right now is transparency right now. Let me tell you, for instance, this thing, right? If I drink water, okay, if I drink like Pedialyte, right, yeah, or you know, what is it, Gatorade, whatever, right, yeah, with electrolytes in it, so it's not imbalanced. Okay, if I drink that, the pores inside of my stomach and inside of my intestines are, you know, pretty porous. Like water can pass through there easily. You get what I mean? Between the cell wall, you know what I mean? Right? It's got the porins, right? Where the water can go through. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're in the hospital and they stick you with an IV, right? Yeah, where you could have just drank that water, right? Yeah, they can make like maybe $500. How many people, right, really could just drink a bunch of water and don't really need an IV? And by the way, in a hospital, you
I
have
hear
large
saying.
instances of what is it called? Antibiotic resistant bacteria, MRSA, right? Yeah, running around the hospitals and you're poking these people open. Is this necessary? But
I got you.
can you stop commercialization? Can you stop money? Right? How does Medicare for all does not have
It
accountability, does
doesn't.
not have the voice of the victim? Someone who was pierced by that thing will say, I was infected here. I need you guys to fix this, but they cannot be heard because the physicians don't want to talk about this kind of thing. You get what I mean? I'm not saying that they
I I mean,
helpful
and
approaches.
again, that's
That's not
you're
always bad.
still not,
Not always bad.
okay, for you to win, for you to convince me
I
that I
feel like
shouldn't
I'm not
support
giving up. Yeah.
Medicare for all, you would have to convince me that it would be worse than the current system, which you haven't done.
You can fix
You're
the
not
current
just going to
system now.
bring up,
How is the system?
okay,
How is the system now not Medicare for all? It's
so you're saying
whatever
there's other solutions. So you're
you
not
call it.
against Medicare for all.
The reason
You
why
simply think
the reason why the
there's
chances
better and
that
other solutions we should be
no,
supporting. Is
just
that
whatever you
correct?
believe in. Honestly, I believe with a lot of things that you said. Just make it happen now with whatever it's called right now. It doesn't need a name, right? Yeah, to be
Honestly,
whatever
the
what you're saying.
problem
It
is a
doesn't need that name.
power. The
Just push it
problem is
through.
a power
Push it
imbalance. The
through.
problem is
Someone
a
goes to the
power
hospital, the doctor,
imbalance.
you tell them go see that person. What are you doing? Right? Yeah. Oh, I can't see them because the insurance. Shut the fuck up. Go see that
Yeah,
person. Shut
the
the fuck up.
problem
Go
the
see them right
problem
now.
is a power imbalance. The medical industry, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, and the government have all the power, and the patients have no
I
power.
can't help them because
That's the
it's not
problem.
Medicare for all. Yo, you're not a doctor to me. You know what I mean? You're an asshole. You know what I mean? I can't
No,
see
no
them
one
because
is
it's not
saying. No
Medicare
one
for
is
all.
going.
Go see them
No
right
one
now.
is.
They're in pain. Go help them. You have the training. You understand what to
What
do.
what
What are you doing?
nobody. What nobody is
They
refusing
do.
to help people
They do
because
every
they
day. Go
don't
to
have
your local
Medicare.
emergency room
What?
right now and look at the people waiting in line 24, 48 hours. Go to your emergency room right the fuck now and go look at the people right there and tell them that.
That's not the fault of. That's not the fault of the
The
overworked,
doctors know. The doctors know.
underpaid
They know they're
physicians.
part of the lie. They know that it's
Physicians are overworked
they know
and
too. And
honestly
why?
underpaid.
And why? And they know they're part of the scam. And why? Because they know that they got to keep. If
The
there's a long
physicians are
line,
low on
then
the
they can
totem
crank the
pole.
money. If there's a lot if you have downtime, if those doctors are sitting around and they're not seeing patients, they're not cranking the money wheel. Look at how
No,
the
those
doctors take care of you.
doctors work 100-hour plus weeks. They work the hell out of doctors. I think we
Why?
need more we
Why?
need more doctors. Doctors should actually be paid more.
People
I think the you could
people
pay
gotta you
doctors
gotta learn about your
more.
own health. You gotta learn
Who's
about your
taking the
own
money out?
health.
It's not the doctors that's taking up all the money and
You
making
gotta
it
learn about your
higher
own health.
prices. It's the banks, it's the medical equipment, it's the monopoly corporations that manage the hospitals.
Okay,
The
hold on for
physicians are
let me
low
tell
on
you
the
let me tell you about this.
totem
Let me
pole.
tell you about this for a second. Okay. So one of the jobs that I had was I was a medical scribe. So the thing is that I'm there taking the notes of what's going on in the session. Okay. So I get to be with the patient and all this. So I'll tell you that is truth. Okay. You tell the doctor what your symptoms. Okay. You've been to the doctor, correct? Yeah. Have you ever been to the doctor for like maybe an illness that you didn't know, right? Yeah. What it was? Like you felt like off somehow and you went to see the doctor? Or maybe had like a mysterious pain.
No, that's never happened to me.
But
But
let's say,
I've had family members and
yeah,
friends that it has happened, and they usually run a bunch of tests, charge them a bunch of money they don't have, and sometimes don't even figure out what it is.
okay.
Most of the time.
So let's talk about that experience right quickly because I've been through this process. So let's break it down. Okay. So okay. All right. So the thing is, shit, where was I going with this? Yeah, but I have been through this experience many times. Talking about the hospitals, how the system's broken, the payment Medicare for all. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get back to the how this ties in.
I think you're continually making the same point that in the for-profit medical system, the doctors are looking to make money and not actually help the patient. So they run as many expensive
Not
tests as
always, right? They're
possible.
not
They
always.
run an IV. They
There
run
is
an
some of this,
IV
yeah.
instead of just giving you some water. They say, "Oh, they don't know what it is." Okay, how many expensive tests can I
Doctors, you
run
know what
up
I'm
and
talking about.
charge
Put in
their
the comments.
insurance?
Yeah,
Yeah, how
doctors, you
many?
know what I'm talking about. Put in the comments.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
so
talking about.
somebody comes in, they don't know what they have, and they're like, "Man, I can get paid to do this, this, and this, even if it's not even remotely the problem." But they're going to get paid, so they're going to do it. That's the problem with the for-profit medical system. I mean, I remember I visited
Oh,
Germany
I,
one
I
time.
remember. Wait, hold up. I remember where I was going with this. I'm so sorry. Okay, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Where I was
go
going with
ahead,
this.
go ahead.
Okay, so check this out. So the thing is that when the doctor sees you, you give him your symptoms. Then right off the top of the head, tell me if I've ever wrong. Maybe you've gotten to be in the sessions, maybe you're not. Right? Yeah. I want everybody in the chat tell me if you ever seen this. Right? Yeah. Right off the top of the head, they tell you what's wrong. Am I right or am I wrong? They tell you exactly what needs to be done. They just look at you right there. They saw the results and they tell you right there what's got to be done. Correct? This is what
I
they're
mean, a
paid
lot of
to do.
times
They're
they
professionals. They're supposed to make the
yeah,
diagnosis. They write it down. They see the next patient. They have, like, once again, they have a lot of patients to see. That's how this
yep.
procedure works. It's very straightforward, cut, right? Yeah. There's no real, right? Oh, let me go look this up. Let me go study this, right? Yeah. It could be 4 or 5 different things, right? There's a lot of different things it could be, We don't have time to really go over and talk about ways. I'm telling you what it is right now. This is the care you're gonna get. We're gonna roll them out next one. Correct? That's how this works, right? Always, even in private care, there's a line, there's a waiting line, right? Yeah, we're in the waiting room. There's literally waiting room, right? Yeah. You get your diagnosis, you get your treatment, next, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, the what would happen is because I would actually look up some of these cases because I was learning about because I was going to go into medical school. And then I covered some things, and then there was also physician's assistants, and then I'm proud to say that I caused a little bit of a change in that ward, because after that I would be like, oh, what about this? And they would remember. They'd be like, oh yeah, he's right, what about that, right? And they started to look it up themselves, and I'm glad that I made that change. Once again, right, what you cannot change is the culture. What you need to change is the culture of the way that they see things, and that culture, that name is not what's going to change it. You get what I mean? The culture comes from right now, right? And whatever the system is right now can be changed to whatever you want Medicare for all to be. You get what I mean? There's no reason why it can't be right. It doesn't need a name. What I'm not saying you can't change the name if you want to, but really that's way in distant fucking second. You know what I mean? What needs to change right now is that poor people need to start getting help right now. What needs to change right now is that victims need access, and these issues I'm telling you about right now need a way to get addressed, and everything else is bullshit.
I mean, Medicare for all would still be a step forward. Like more people getting seen, like with the current system,
seen by who?
with
By what
bad
quality?
as bad as it is. Yeah, as bad as it is, more people having access to it would be a good thing. That's it. Medicare for all on that matter alone. Now, how are we going to solve all these other issues that are correct that you bring up? Like, what is your plan around them?
If I said free McDonald's for everybody for the rest of your life,
free. I see.
It's bad.
See
it's
what
not
you're
perfect.
saying.
It's not
well,
perfect. It's not
free
perfect.
McDonald's. Even with that argument, if people were starving, listen, if people were starving and they had no food,
yeah,
free McDonald's for everyone would be a good thing.
So, okay,
and honestly, that's what's happening. That's how bad it is.
Medicare for all different from universal health care or single payer? Are these things different or the same thing?
Well, there's slightly. You can have both at the same time. Universal just means everyone has access to healthcare. That's what universal means.
What's the difference?
And then single payer means the government would pay everyone's medical bills.
To me, it's all the same shit. It's just another name, right? Whatever is happening right now.
No, they're
right
different
now,
things.
Are helping people
with
right
different.
Now.
They mean different things. They have meanings.
They could call it universal health care, and it could still be racist as shit, still be oppressing poor people, and still not providing universal health care. They can call it that.
But at least everyone would have access to it. Everyone would have access to for-profit, racist healthcare.
There's a lot of
words mean something. Words mean something. Right now,
public housing is a new form of apartheid, right?
Okay, would you prefer no public housing and people living in the streets, or have public housing?
We need
public housing, regardless. Yes,
we need to redo it, right? Yeah. But just to be for it itself is not.
It ain't an all or nothing. It ain't
just to be for it itself is not really.
It ain't all. If something is a change that is positive, we should support that change. It's not. Oh, if it's not perfect, I can't support anything.
Support apartheid.
That's bullshit.
Is that what you're saying, Dustin?
No. What I'm saying. Okay, public housing with all its problems.
If
public housing with all of its problems is better than people being homeless.
If I just said public housing is a form of apartheid. Right, yeah? And you said yes. And then you said, right, yeah? Like, I'm not against public housing either. I get it. I'm not for it or against it. But I'm telling you right now that the word itself.
There is discrimination policies within the majority.
Right, economic discrimination, whatever discrimination. We should take care of that. Whatever you call it, blah, blah, blah. That's nice. You know what I mean?
That's not just
that's cute, but fix it now. Whatever it is, fix it now, right? Yeah? I don't care what you.
But how are you going to fix it? What do you mean fix it now? How are you going to get it fixed now? How are you going to fix it now? How are you going to fix it now? What's your plan? How are you going to fix it?
Whenever you see it going wrong, you just say no. You just don't let it.
What power do you got to change it? You're one person. You're going to change it.
I threw everything at it. I'm crashing and burning here, but I threw everything. You've seen the fucking comet fly, bro. So I'm glad you were along for the journey, bro.
I mean, what? I mean, honestly, I think what I'm getting at is
Maybe I'll drive a truck.
what
Maybe I'll be a truck
what
driver like you. I don't
okay,
know.
what would fix
I'm
all
not gonna
these other
drive.
problems?
Yeah.
The source of all these problems, discrimination within healthcare, racism within healthcare,
Do you
the
see why I don't
source of
support it? Maybe you can't agree with
yes,
it, but do you see why I don't support it? I just can't support it, so I'm sorry. Yeah. So mine is still no. But you're
I
still yes. I
don't
admit it.
think
I admit it, you. But yeah,
I don't think you made an effective argument against it.
I what?
But you did bring up problems that exist that need to be fixed. And my I would say that if you want to fix these problems, it's not going to be just individuals somehow all coming together to fix this. I think we need organization.
I
I think
challenge
we
any
need to
Medicare for
address
all
the
movement,
power
any
imbalances.
Medicare for all producer or event to have me on to talk about these issues that I brought about today. I challenge any fucking one of them.
But the
I
people
challenge
who
any
are
one of
supporting Medicare for all didn't create those problems. They
them. Who
didn't
paid
create
for that
those
event?
problems.
Who paid for that event?
Those
They did.
physicians didn't create those
They're
problems.
part of it. They need to fix it. I'm not saying
They
I'm not
simply
saying they're all
they
wrong.
want to do
I'm not saying
something.
they're the devil,
They want to do
but
something that would be beneficial. Why are you going to oppose people
for
regardless of all their
themselves,
problems?
for
Yeah, they would get paid
themselves,
more. But it would also help more people have access to that system. McDonald's for everyone would be a good thing
for
because
McDonald's,
they're starving. No,
especially
because
for
they're
McDonald's.
starving people. No, but the
Is
people,
it at cost or
there
is it
might
for
be
profit?
better there
Is it
might
at
be better
cost or for profit?
solutions.
Are
There
these
might be
doctors going to
better
volunteer?
solutions.
Are
Okay,
these doctors
if people
volunteering?
are starving, any shit food is better than no food.
You're
That's
not
all
wrong.
I'm
You're
saying.
not wrong. You're not wrong. You're
That's
not wrong. I admit, right? Yeah. Not,
but
you're
I
not wrong.
agree with you with all these other problems and they should be addressed. And I would go a step further. Your solutions to all those other problems is very vague. Do it now.
How how can I
I
be
would
how
say
can I
if
be
we
for
want
them
to
while they
address those
exclude me?
problems,
How can I be for them when they exclude me? Medicare for all. How can they be Medicare for all when they're excluding me? Look at I
that's
told you about
not
my
how issues work. Okay, if the activists exclude
that
you from trying to get something
have I
good,
haven't I told you about my but I told you I work for multiple pulmonologists, a neurologist, right? Hospitals. I have direct
okay,
understanding
if you
and I
could
work
snap your
how
fingers right now and have Medicare for all, would you?
what is Medicare for all? And who's controlling it?
Medicare for all means
Is it by
that
these same doctors?
everyone's health needs would be funded by the government immediately today. It would save thousands of lives. If you could have it right now, would you want it? Yes or no?
That doesn't really I don't really those components are too vague, man. Like the thing is like the healthcare provided by who determines what is healthcare, who determines does that mean everybody has to have mandatory vaccines? Does it mean that, does it mean that everybody has a health record that's accessible by the government? Does it mean
Okay, you know what
all
you
these other things?
you know what Medicare is, right? What they give old people?
You
It's
know,
an
honestly, what I want
insurance
is
that they give old people.
what I want is my friend who doesn't have money, or even myself, go to the go to emergency and need some care, and someone could help me out, that would be great. That's what I want. And I don't care what it called, blah blah blah. When I
And
go there, I
Medicare
want
for
help.
all would give more access to more people because the hospitals would be less likely to turn them away because they would get paid if they saw those people.
You know, there's some people are anti-military. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a guy in the Russian, who there was some equipment malfunction, right? Yeah, and then he could have hit the button that said that the nukes were going off, and he could have hit the button and caused a nuclear war. But he said, "Nah, this don't look right. I think it's a mistake." He got fired, by the way, right? Yeah, but that's what people need to do, right? Yeah, whatever the rules are, blah blah blah, right? Yeah, they can just make their own decisions. You don't got to engage.
People getting seen by doctors is not a
So
nuclear
if
war.
if the
Doesn't
hospital
make
says
sense.
if the hospital says you can't see that patient, right? Yeah, because blah blah blah. Don't go into the waiting room to go and help those patients out, right? They're waiting. Some administrator, some nurse decided that they don't get to be seen because they don't look like they could pay. I mean, just go out there and help them. I mean, you ain't gotta participate in the bullshit. Stop it. Part of it. and you know it's overcrowded.
So you're
You
saying
know why they're doing it.
workers
Tell
shouldn't
them.
be
Tell
paid
them
for
right
their
now.
work?
Tell them to hire more
Like,
doctors, and tell them, right? Yeah, or tell them that they
yes,
got to fix
hire
the
more
system.
doctors. Honestly, Cuba has the best, has probably the best medical
They,
system in the world
they need
with
to start informing people more
with
about that.
less funding. Like, instead of saying you don't like Medicare for all, you
Okay,
should say Medicare for all is good, but we would prefer to have a system like Cuba.
let's
Like,
talk about this. Let's talk about this right here, okay? When we take a look at the medical system, okay, for the dollar spent, what's the most effective way to spend your dollars? Do you know? I'll tell you what I think. Okay, it's public health. The thing is that when you look at, I think his name was actually, funny enough, I think Edward Snow or something like that, the guy who actually found how the plague was spread through the wells. You know, during that stopped the plague, like in the during you know, the Middle Ages, right? The thing is that public health, when you take care of like environmental factors like food supply, things like that, right? Stopping, you know, plagues or pandemics, things like that. That's really the best dollar spent. But our industry is too focused on giving nose jobs, right? Those are what makes money, or making, you know, sexual, you know, sexual pills and stuff, or selling psychiatric medications.
you're saying regulation, not destroying the EPA, not poisoning people's water, not poisoning
People
people's air.
themselves need, what we need is more people to be medically educated themselves. You cannot
That's good.
trust the industry. You must yourself have better access to
Yeah,
knowledge. And
both of those things would
nowadays,
be
I feel
good.
that
That's not an
algorithms are by
argument.
commercial stuff.
That's not an argument against Medicare for all. You could say the money would be better spent on public health, but that's not an argument that says Medicare for all would be a
I don't
bad
think
thing.
our society is ready for it.
But my further argument would be, how are we going to get public health? And I think the root problem, the root of
People
all
just
these
not do it.
problems is power imbalance. The companies have all the money. The government, the companies can, the monopolies control the government. We need community and labor organizations that represent the people and can push society in a way that's in our interests. And that takes organizing. And I think that's the only way we're going to change it. And whether we want to put our resources into public health or Medicare for all, that can be up for discussion. And I think you may have made a good argument that those resources would be better spent on public health than it would be pushing for Medicare for all.
And the
I
only
think
way you're going to get public health is to have
yeah.
raise the public knowledge and the public engagement in the process. That's the only way they
Good.
can their own interests. You cannot trust the doctors. I'm not saying they're all bad or all good. You cannot trust them. History has proven this time and again. I'm sorry to say. Yeah, wisen up. Y'all need to get personally involved. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a good example. I'm kind of crash get burning, but that's the only solution, in my opinion. I don't think.
I don't know, when you start saying only solution, I think that gets a little vague. There's a number of issues that would help the problem.
Who will protect the public like the public? The public must mobilize and engage.
Exactly. I think, and
Otherwise, the
it's
public cannot benefit. Someone else will benefit.
yeah.
The
The
public,
root of the problem is
other
the
resources.
power imbalance.
If
The
someone
root of
else,
the public
yeah,
problem is power imbalance. That's the root of the problem.
because
We
people
need
are
more
taught
power to the people and less to the corporations and
too much
monopolies.
consumers. They're taught too much to be
Yeah.
consumers. I'm not saying that some consumerism like doesn't have pluses and minuses, right? There's also, right, but consumerism is too controlling, and this idea of healthcare being provided by I'm not saying that, right, public health, I do agree, like when someone is hurt, I want them to get help, and there's resources there. There's a lot of money spent on these things, but where does the money go? I'm telling you, it goes to fucking $500 IV bags and stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now fixing that, right? Yeah, you can't take broken people. You can't. It's not like we have, right? Yeah, like a fucking Jenga block, right? Yeah, where you can like have all these pieces and stack them up neatly together. You have corroded, corrupted, fucked up pieces, right, with huge holes in them that are not stable, that are ready to shatter any fucking second. And somehow you want to build a stable structure out of that. You gotta take all those pieces and you gotta fix them up because those pieces are all corrupted and fucked.
I gotta go check in now, but I mean, I think you made some good points. I appreciate the discussion.
All right, man. Peace.
All right, later.
I'm not against you. All right, one love, brother. Peace. I just hit end strength. All right, I'm gonna leave.